Hey guys, you're listening to the Tascha Labs podcast, and today we are talking to Kevin Lim, founder of Nitro, which is the first Solana Layer 2 solution building in Cosmos. So I invited Kevin a while ago because, Layer 2 rollups have been all the rage this year with the fast growth of Optimism and Arbitrum and some other Layer 2s on Ethereum. But we haven't heard much about Layer 2s building on other ecosystems, right? So last year, I thought this was eventually going to happen for some of the larger ecosystems like Solana. And it is indeed happening as a new way for blockchains to scale. So that's why I wanted to invite Kevin to talk about what they are working on. But obviously, right now we are 2 weeks after the FTX accident, that debacle that affected a lot of the Solana ecosystem. So a lot of the Solana tokens are down bad right now because of the perceived connection with Sam Bankman-Fried, and also there are liquidity problems. And for a while we had like a validator problems on Solana chain after the FTX incident. So I'm definitely looking to talk about that and talk about, how Kevin is seeing the ecosystem, evolving or coping with the situation right now, and how they're thinking of their growth strategy going forward. So without further ado, Kevin, how are you today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for the great introduction. I guess I'll just jump into a quick background myself before we jump into what Nitro is and how we think it is highly beneficial for the Cosmos and Solana ecosystem. So prior to getting into crypto, my background is in traditional finance as well as operating at startups. I really saw the massive opportunity that crypto provided through starting my previous startup, where I was creating a social network for tennis players. I really saw the benefits of being able to use tokens in order to provide contributions to people around the world. That is not something that is easy to do with Web 2 infrastructure. I just reflected on kind of where the industry was, realized it was a little bit too early for a social network for tennis to really take off within the current crypto infrastructure. So I was actually fortunate enough to work at Say previously, where I led research on modular blockchains. And after meeting with several Solana founders, it was just really obvious that there was a huge opportunity to build the first Solana VM chain. And that is quite literally the simple way to understand what Nitro is. It is the first Solana VM chain, and we will be launching on Cosmos in Q1 of next year. So Nitro is the same execution environment or virtual machine as Solana. Solana developers will be able to cross-deploy on Nitro and vice versa with no changes. And long-term, Nitro will really help the Solana VM become a development standard across the space as a whole.
So, can you give us some explanations just for people who don't know in terms of like technicalities? Can you talk about what is the Solana VM, like the concept of VM, and what are the rollups and layer 2? So just like briefly touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So SVM or C-level stands for C-level VM, and this is the Solana smart contract language. A rollup is a blockchain scaling solution that focuses on executing transactions outside of the L1 in order to boost performance. And that is how it enables more users to have higher performance and utilizes the layer 1 itself for other aspects of the blockchain tech stack. So taking a modular approach to blockchain technology, we can really abstract this away and break it down into key concepts that really matter within developing this tech stack and utilizing the technology. So the three are the execution layer, the settlement layer, and the data availability layer. So when I mention the virtual machine, that is the execution layer. This is what processes transactions. The settlement layer is what validates the order of transactions. So when people are talking about a consensus mechanism, this is where the settlement layer they're really talking about the settlement layer, which is how you are ensuring with finality that these transactions are properly ordered. Finally, there is the data availability layer, which ensures that all data is available once it's published. So any node that is connected to the blockchain itself can readily re-record or re-look into that transaction that has occurred.
So, like, just to give us an example, like Arbitrum, for example, is the execution layer that's using Ethereum as the settlement layer, right? So, what's the counterpart for you for Nitro?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So, for Nitro, the execution layer is C-level VM, which is a Solana virtual machine. And then our settlement layer and data availability occurs on SEI, which is a blockchain within the Cosmos that is optimized for DeFi builders.
So what is the rationale behind this like a specific choice of the scaling solutions? Now, I guess like let's break it down for two parts. First of all, is the choice of SVM. Everybody is more familiar with EVM, right? The Ethereum virtual machine. So how is the SVM better?
Yeah, that's a great
my
question.
Number one. Okay. And number two is, so you're different from the Ethereum layer 2, so which is using Ethereum as the settlement layer. So I guess at the beginning, I introduced you as a Solana layer 2, but that's actually a misnomer because you're not really using Solana as the settlement layer, right? You're using the chain and Cosmos. So talk us through like these choices. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm going to address the first question first, like how we are a Solana layer 2. So really the problem that Nitro is addressing is the fact that Solana has this very strong developer community, and currently they're unfortunately siloed on one single chain. So Nitro addresses this as the first SVM outside of Solana, and it makes it easy for Solana teams to be able to port over their apps and to expand in the Cosmos ecosystem. And Cosmos users are really interested in this because it provides them with the opportunity for more applications to deploy in the ecosystem. So this is really where we are a scaling solution for Solana. We help enable Solana developers to have this optionality in order to expand multi-chain without having to learn a new smart contract language. I guess your second question was around why we decided to use the SVM. So the benefit of SVM is it enables parallel processing of non-overlapping transactions. So instead of what happens on EVM, which is that all the transactions are sequentially processed, as a result of that parallel processing, that enables the really high performance of the Solana virtual machine, where you can get thousands. I think the average TPS on Solana is around 3,000 transactions per second, which is significantly higher than what happens on within EVM blockchains, where TPS is 15 transactions per second. If DeFi is ever going to scale, and a lot of other types of dApps, such as gaming, you're going to need significantly higher TPS to onboard billions of people into crypto. A great analogy to understanding why this performance matters is the fact that Visa manages about 25,000 transactions per second. So for any of these dApps to truly be able to scale and to have a global audience, the performance of the execution layer has to be higher. So that is a true benefit of using the SVM versus the EVM.
So just to clarify something, so for the Ethereum layer 2s, for example, for Arbitrum and Optimus, I think their TPS, transaction per second, is also in the thousands. So are you saying you can do better performance than those using SVM? And if so,
yes, that's exactly right. So the theoretical TPS for Solana is significantly higher than what is happening on their current mainnet. So this is upward to hundreds of thousands of transactions per second.
Yes, but that's due to the consensus mechanism of Solana, right? So, but you are using the Solana execution environment, but you're not really using Solana as the settlement layer. So how is that? Are you taking advantage of the TPS of the performance advantage of Solana?
Yeah, so the core benefit here is that we don't use the settlement layer of Solana. And as a result, right, we can actually offer higher TPS by just actually increasing the amount of processors that are connected to the node that we run at Nitro. That being said, currently the Solana kind of network and the settlement layer is holding back the execution layer. So the execution layer has much higher theoretical throughput, right? And over time they will continue to optimize and improve the performance, so the TPS and the latency of the execution environment. But that's the beauty of the modular execution environment of Nitro, as well as just creating a modular execution environment in general, is that you can abstract away the benefits of different aspects of a tech stack and then utilize that to create an optimal environment for builders to create dApps in.
So far, like just from what we've talked about right now, like tell me if this impression is correct, because I feel like maybe what your value prop it's not exactly the TPS, because there are multiple solutions right now with rollups and layer 2s and layer 3s to achieve some level of a high performance, but you're really targeting the users which are apps already building on Solana that wants to venture out into other ecosystem. And it's an easy way to do that. Is that right? Without
yes, that's certainly a big aspect of our value proposition. But that being said, Nitro is really this gateway between the Cosmos and Solana ecosystems, right? Both ecosystems are primarily Rust developers that can learn and utilize the smart contract languages that they code in. So, long term, we see opportunities for these kind of builders to come together and build entirely new dApps within Nitro. So yes, that is part of the value proposition. Additionally, because of the way that we've created Nitro, we utilize the high performance of C-level VM and also utilize a different consensus mechanism, right? And for settlement here, and one of the challenges of Solana currently is, in the past, has been these outages, right? So the consensus mechanism of the Cosmos, right, the Tendermint consensus, has been proven to be very robust, and has managed a lot of different challenges within the crypto space. So these builders that come in and create dApps on Nitro will have the high performant execution environment of SVM, and also can benefit from the reliability of having a different settlement layer.
So then my question is, if you are talking about like targeting the apps that are already on Solana but wants to have a more reliable settlement layer, why not build a SVM using Ethereum as a settlement layer? Why go to Cosmos? Because obviously Ethereum is a much bigger ecosystem compared to Cosmos. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, so a lot of these builders are very excited about the opportunity to come into the Cosmos. Because of a lot of kind of recent announcements that we've seen here, right? So they're really excited about the fact that DeFi is really nascent within the Cosmos ecosystem. As kind of they've largely been building out the infrastructure of the Cosmos for a long time, and now it's all coming together. We see major players that are coming into the space, including USDC, native USDC within the Cosmos. DYDX has come over as a result of kind of realizing that the solution that they were aiming for within the Ethereum ecosystem, right? So building on Starknet was not actually the best solution for what they're doing. And this kind of really validated the Cosmos the app-specific blockchain thesis here for them, because they can actually create their own blockchain that can optimize for their exchange. So a lot of these builders were excited to come into the Cosmos before DeFi really explodes. And additionally, one major aspect to why they're coming over and are excited about being in the Cosmos is the fact that there is very little overlap between the liquidity and the users that started out in the Cosmos and that started in Solana. So the users are entirely different, as well as the liquidity and the formation of the community itself. So the Cosmos was established in 2014, so around the same time that Ethereum was established, and it really was a very grassroots social organization of the chain itself. So a lot of the liquidity and the users there have supported the project for a long time. And it's exactly what a lot of these Solana dApps are looking for, which is different users and then different liquidity, and liquidity that is like far more organic than what they have seen in other ecosystems that were really very, very much so supported by funds and then professional market makers. So it's an opportunity for them to find these users that are fairly educated in crypto and are also looking for true use cases and adoption for their for how to use crypto. And that's kind of something that was really appealing to them.
Okay, so if I hear it correctly, basically the builders in the Solana ecosystem, they may want to come to Cosmos because it's like a relatively non-overlapping user base, so it really helped them to branch out to reach new users. And also there's organic growth in Cosmos, and it's growing, hopefully in coming years it will be much faster.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even during the bear market, the Cosmos is one of the only ecosystems that has grown over the past 6 to 8 months. And once again, they've really kind of slowly realizing their vision of becoming the internet of blockchains that is connected through IBC or inter-blockchain communication. So there's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of asset transfers throughout this internet of blockchains. These two blockchains, Solana and Cosmos, really sit on the opposite side of the blockchain trilemma here, where the Cosmos ecosystem has always been focused on horizontal scaling through app-specific blockchains, and then Solana is focused on this high-performant single blockchain, right, where they believe that they could, over time, vertically scale. So you have a lot of users that came in from very different time periods, as well as with very different understandings of the philosophical challenges of blockchain technology. So at Nitro, being able to bring them together and create kind of this community that understands the different trade-offs is like very exciting for these builders that want to come in to Nitro and participate from Solana and come into the Cosmos ecosystem.
Okay, so I want to get into more of the details in terms of who you are actually targeting, but let's get down to a bit more of a step back a little bit. So how did you pick up this idea, and what made you think this would be an idea that has legs that worth devoting yourself to?
Yeah, so once again, I really got this idea through my work researching modular execution environments and looking at major projects, looking at how the Ethereum community was viewing how they wanted to scale. And, over this time period that I was researching what type of ecosystems and what type of developers would be highly attractive to bringing over to Say during my time there, I was just continually really, really impressed by the quality of builders within the Solana ecosystem. I thought that they had incredibly high quality ideas, incredibly high quality teams, and then they were optimizing for the user experience, which largely is one of the biggest challenges within all of crypto. It's just the challenge of onboarding new people into dApps and into different into their projects. And I was just blown away by the strength of the developer community there. And at a certain point, we just had this epiphany moment where it's like this would be highly beneficial for these teams if there was an opportunity for them to very simply come over into different ecosystems, starting out with the Cosmos, and have the opportunity to find users' liquidity as well as other thought leaders that can help them drive forward with their projects. So long term, the focus for Nitro is to become this scalability engine where teams can utilize Nitro in order to spin up several or any separate SVM rollup and use any layer one for data availability and settlement. This provides these Solana developers the opportunity and optionality in order to succeed on any chain where they feel like they have connections and resources in order to find users and traction.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying right now you're starting with Cosmos, but eventually what you want is just to have SVM anywhere that you can, do settlement on. Is that right?
That's exactly right, and that's where we have this focus on making sure that the Solana VM can become this universal development and development standard within crypto. Just spending a lot of time just thinking about how Web 2 played out, there's no one single software language that all engineers use, right? And from an end user standpoint, nobody really knows, like most end users, they don't know what Amazon is coded in, right? But there are multiple different languages that are utilized within the Web 2 tech stack, and we think that long-term Web 3 will be the same way, and the SVM is really poised to be the next development standard within crypto because of the innovations it makes with parallel processing, as well as the strength of the Solana Foundation in order to push forward this blockchain technology and help empower builders to create these dApps that really do have product market fit and can help scale blockchain technology to billions of users.
Okay, so talking about Web 2 analogy, so in your view, what would be the equivalent of JavaScript in Web 3? Well,
JavaScript is coming to Web 3. I'm not sure if you know about the Agoric team, which is very impressive.
Instead of like, since we're talking about the analogy to Web 2, right? So you have, like you said, a development standard that is going to have a network effect. So what do you think would be the equivalent of that? Is that going to be the Solana SVM or something else? Because right now it seems like the EVM is the standard, right? So
yeah, I would say that the EVM is the standard. It's tough to draw an analogy because they are so different, but I would say that like the SVM or the C-level VM is poised to be the next major development standard within crypto. Because it provides that solution as far as being a high-performant smart contract language that the EVM cannot offer, right? And I think that is like where it's highly beneficial, where parallel processing and the ability to have incredibly high throughput that has parity with some of the performance of Web 2 servers and Web 2 development is really what is important, right? Because these dApps that do not have this high performance, they would not be able to scale long term. And once again, like if payment processors and payment is a major kind of analogy here, with Visa having to effectively managing around 25,000 transactions per second, we need to have that type of parity, and C-level VM offers that in the long term.
So what did you do to validate this idea after you got started to make sure this is something you want to move forward with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the best way that I thought about kind of validating the idea and really having conviction around creating Nitro was analyzing other major blockchain projects. I evaluated kind of the strengths and weaknesses of each one of these teams and the projects that they're building. And, I also thought about what innovations actually matter to progress the space. For these applications, once again, to provide utility for users and to have this long-term benefit to the end users, and the Solana tech stack and the quality of builders just stood out from the other solutions that are currently out there. Also talked to a ton of different Solana teams during the ideation phase, and a lot of them are really eager for the opportunity to bring their innovations to these other ecosystems without having to rewrite their code bases. And that was like, a big reason why we believe that we could gain traction early on for what we're building at Nitro. And, I think at the end of the day, we really have to think about where the industry will be in 3 to 5 years. Obviously, with the current challenges in the bear market, it seems like, there's no traction, there's nobody that's here anymore. But really what matters is that this technology can really lead to these decentralized solutions to major problems that we're having within our current, kind of the current way that our society is set up. And the Solana tech stack really does provide this kind of opportunity to create a truly global decentralized financial system in the future, as well as provide the scalability that is needed in order to make sure that these type of decentralized applications will work as more users are onboarded into the space.
So you're the founder of Nitro, right? So or are you the co-founder?
I'm a co-founder of Nitro.
Okay. So who else on the team?
Yeah, so our CTO, my CTO, that's Tony, who's an ex-Robinhood engineer. We met at SEI, and we just really hit it off with kind of our belief in what we can provide to the space long term, and how we were really just excited about thinking about scalability solutions and how to build infrastructure in order to help builders succeed in the long term. Eventually we realized that this modular approach to blockchain technology that Nitro really leans onto was really the next stage for how blockchain projects will kind of succeed in the long term. So we kind of decided to leave there and focus on building this out. And that's kind of where we are now.
So where are you exactly? So in terms of the development stage you're in, and what kind of projects are you looking to attract into Nitro?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We actually announced our testnet during Breakpoint. So there have been numerous teams that are building
Breakpoint by the way, is the Solana conference that just happened in Europe, right?
Yes, in Lisbon. So we had a lot of teams that were playing around with the testnet during the conference. We're planning on having our mainnet launch in Q1 of next year. And we're also just very excited about working in that community formation right now. So being able to bring Cosmos and Solana users together within our own community, and have just launched our Grand Prix campaign in order to have this fun way of bringing together Cosmos and Solana users, and also teaching them about various different projects and tooling that they can use from the ecosystem that they are less familiar with. So Cosmos users are currently opening up Solana wallets, and Solana users are currently learning about how these Cosmos wallets work. And we think it's going to be a very fun way to bring people together and to learn about the different ways that blockchain technology can scale long term.
So how does this campaign work?
Yeah, so we're bringing together our members into our Discord server, and then we're going to have these different stages in which these users will be able to participate in friendly competitions in order to compete for rewards, as well as earn different kind of NFTs and other rewards from projects that we collaborate with. So this is just a fun way for these users to get together into a online community, learn about these different projects that they likely have never heard of before, and also to kind of create a collaborative environment in order for these Cosmos users to ask Solana users questions, and for them to really see what the major kind of projects and innovations of each one of the ecosystems have to offer. So that's kind of how it works. We're planning on running this campaign kind of moving into our Q1 mainnet launch, and it's just a way to get everybody on board and to create this kind of vibrant ecosystem that will be excited for the dAppSet build and launch on Nitro going into mainnet.
So is there any incentive for projects that are building on Nitro? What kind of incentive are you offering?
Yeah, so as far as the incentives for builders on Nitro, we actually don't have an incentive program right now. And like all these conversations and initial developer commitments and kind of collaborations that we've been working on are all organic. The teams that we're working on closely with are, they've really been proactive in reaching out to us, and we will provide them with ecosystem support. Later on, there will be, additional resources, but currently they're just really excited about the opportunity to build within the Cosmos and have this organic audience that we mentioned before. So, it's a big opportunity for them to come in and be one of the first Solana projects that it gets involved within the Cosmos ecosystem, and that these Cosmos users will be aware of. So once again, it's a really, really great way for them to go multi-chain, while also being able to focus on their core product, right? Because they don't need to make any changes to their code base. So they can continue to focus on their core product on Solana, while also having this opportunity to come into the Cosmos ecosystem and find new users, find new liquidity, and even potentially find new builders that they can work together with.
So how many projects are we talking about right now?
Yeah, so unfortunately, because we're still kind of in negotiations with a lot of the teams. I can't say a definitive number, but we did have one team that just announced, was the Cypher protocol. They like to frame themselves as the Disneyland for derivatives, and they are building a spot, perpetual, as well as futures exchange, decentralized exchange on Solana. So we're excited for them to come on board in the Nitro and be one of the first teams to deploy on Nitro.
So what type of projects are you seeing that are interested in your solutions? Are we talking about, like, give us some descriptions in terms of the sector and use cases breakdown?
Yeah, so our V1 iteration of Nitro is a general purpose rollup. So it's very similar to Arbitrum. So we've actually gotten a significant amount of excitement and attraction to the opportunity from DeFi teams, gaming projects, and NFT projects. The reason being is, like, currently within the Cosmos, there's no true blue chip gaming or NFT project that has, like, really created a really strong central voice within the ecosystem. So there's a big opportunity for a lot of these Solana projects that have a lot of experience with community growth and formation of these strong communities that have a strong voice within the ecosystem to come over and to be a de facto leading project within the ecosystem. As far as DeFi, because of my previous experience at Say, there are a lot of different DeFi teams that are interested in coming over to Nitro and deploy some of these core primitives that we've seen in other ecosystems. So these are things like stable coins, lending and borrowing options, lending and borrowing protocols, options, spot and perpetual exchanges as well. So, and additionally, vaults. So basically, the everything that you've seen in the Solana DeFi ecosystem is something that people are thinking about deploying on Nitro. The reason being, once again, there's this huge opportunity to garner users and liquidity that are attracted to these new types of dApps that they have not had the opportunity to explore within the Cosmos ecosystem because the Cosmos ecosystem is still largely in its infancy. So a lot of the projects in the Cosmos ecosystem are still primarily chains where you can, for the most part, only stake your tokens. Obviously, there's been a ton of progress there, but they're excited about being able to deploy their applications that they're very comfortable with already. And they've had some traction on Solana, and to bring it over into the Cosmos, provide a new, unique user experience to these users within the Cosmos, and find additional new traction there.
So just in terms of one technicality, if a project is already on Solana and they're using you to deploy on Cosmos, it does not really, you don't really help them to move their asset over, right? So they still, if, like, for example, they're an NFT project, if they want to be able to transfer assets across Solana and then the Cosmos ecosystem, they still need to use some kind of separate bridging or messaging solution, right?
Yeah, that's right. And we are, like, yes, that's exactly right. So a lot of the opportunity for, I would say, NFT builders is to, potentially create a new project on Nitro, or figure out a way where they can airdrop an additional kind of product to new community members that are involved in Nitro. So, NFT holders on Solana would have this opportunity to come into Nitro and then have this new product that is created by their team. That being said, we are also chatting with several, and are very well connected with several bridging and general purpose messaging protocols or blockchains that are interested in solving some of these liquidity challenges and creating a native bridge between Solana and Nitro.
So who else are working on the SVM idea besides you?
Yeah, so I would say that I guess, Tascha, your question is around, like, competitors
yes.
and competitors in the space, right? So I would say that anybody that's, like, creating a modular roll-up solution where you are abstracting away the different aspects of a blockchain. So between the execution layer, the settlement layer, and data availability is somebody that would be a sort of like a competitor to what we're building at Nitro. The Dimension team is one that is like working on creating. They're working on creating what they call rollups, which are essentially a sort of this combination between the Cosmos tech stack and then rollup technology. And they're very focused on creating these app-specific, let's call them like app-specific rollup technology solutions. So they're working with builders that are wanting to create decentralized applications that are entirely optimized for their one use case. So that's like one way that we're different. We think that moving forward, there's going to be a lot of interest in kind of roll-up technology and thinking about how you can create modular solutions to these blockchain projects. And we are thinking about how we can create this optimal environment for these Solana developers to come over and to kind of create gain traction for their projects. And then over time, when they do gain traction, we can work with them and work on creating an app-specific roll-up for their specific dApp once they gain significant amount of traction. And with those type of projects, we would be able to optimize their app-specific roll-up for their use case. So, like for example, like a gaming project that gets significant traction with on a Nitro roll-up, they could then kind of spin off and create their own Nitro app-specific gaming roll-up that optimizes for things like TPS to make sure that it's very high performant for gamers that are planning on creating that need like really high TPS in order for their games to function well.
So why are you focusing on, I guess, a non-app specific chain instead of app chain? So I mean, if the applications really want to customize and optimize for performance, it seems like app specific chain is the way to go. No?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, like app specific, like having an app specific rollup is beneficial for performance. But the true challenge still within the space is gaining enough traction in order for that to matter, right? So we're really focused on starting out with general purpose rollups because there needs to be this social formation that occurs in order to gain significant amount of user attraction to a project before they are able to kind of have enough traction for them to want to spin off. Because the benefit of the general purpose blockchain is the fact that you have social cohesion. And you have the composability of being able to work with other builders that are creating complementary dApps on top of a blockchain that has a sense of shared liquidity, right? So that's why we really wanted to focus on the general purpose approach first, so we can create this vibrant grassroots Solana VM chain at the start that benefits from having multiple builders that are working on different types of solutions for users. And then over time, as they gain traction and as they gain attention, because they have really, really strong products that provide a really strong user experience, then they could consider creating a app-specific rollup for their protocol. And that's pretty similar to the approach that DYDX took.
Yeah, but DYDX is their own chain, right? So
yes,
the Cosmos is already having a modular structure, so you have the inter-blockchain communication protocol that makes cross-chain messaging much easier compared to if you're building on other ecosystem. Like if you're building on Solana, it's like you have one chain and it's very scalable one chain, but if for it to be interoperable, you have to be on the same chain. But in Cosmos, you can have your own chain and still have a high degree of interoperability with other chains. Isn't that the whole, not the whole idea, but the selling point, one of the major selling point of Cosmos. So why are we building just a general purpose chain on Cosmos instead of letting like providing SVM for projects to build their own chain?
Oh yeah, so going back to my kind of discussing what happened with DYDX, I meant more that DYDX started within Ethereum, right? And they gained traction there, but then because they got so much traction, the congestion just wasn't like their solution for creating an exchange just wouldn't work on the main chain. So then they transitioned into working with Starkware, they realized that that solution wouldn't work with them for long term. So then they moved, like, because they have their own user base, they're betting that they can bring them over into the Cosmos and create their own optimized app-specific chain, because they already have those users and they have the traction in order to do that, which a lot of protocol teams are struggling with within other ecosystems. So that's the opportunity with Nitro. Like, Nitro provides them that opportunity in order to create that social cohesion that they need in order to gain enough traction in order to, in the future, think about like spinning off and becoming an app-specific project, app-specific roll-up in the future. So I guess your question is focused on like, why are we focused on like, the Cosmos is very focused on these app-specific chains, and like, what is the need for that modularity? I think the need is, once again, has to do with providing these builders an opportunity in order to go multi-chain within the Cosmos, which isn't provided by an app-specific approach at this point within the Cosmos, right? So it's particularly challenging in order for these builders to come over and to focus on both infrastructure as well as building out their product. So that's where we come in. We provide them with the infrastructure in order to have that optionality to come into the ecosystem and then focus entirely on improving their core product. Because by improving their core product and improving the customer experience, as well the user experience, as well as having access to new users, they can then one day like kind of have that traction in order to build their own app-specific case in the use case in the future. So the challenge there is like the challenge with the app-specific blockchain approach is it is a very, very hard kind of challenge technically, and also from a business case, to build out your own blockchain from the ground up, as well as like build out a specific use case for that. And like being able to do that successfully is like very, very challenging. Most builders should really be focusing on like one core major challenge in the blockchain space and spend 100% of their time devoted to working on that specific challenge, right? And that's where you see some of the challenges with the Cosmos approach to app-specific blockchains, is that each one of these projects has to educate the kind of fragmented community base about what their specific project solves for. And the tech is amazing, the community is amazing. It's just very challenging to get that social I would say traction and like that critical mass that like more general purpose chains have succeeded with in order to get a true strong community around. And that's what the Solana Foundation has done a tremendous job of doing, optimizing for bringing on new developers into their ecosystem and having builders that can build with one another and to like create these really strong partnerships that attracts users and attracts this community that can stick around, where they all kind of they buy into the underlying philosophy of the blockchain itself and then can build together. And that's a challenge with some of the app-specific blockchains, is the fact that it's hard when you have a very fragmented community that really does believe in the Cosmos tech stack, but they don't have like a one single entity that they can really utilize as a source of truth and to understanding where, understanding how the project is progressing and where they should get involved. So that's where like Nitro comes together and can act as this gateway for those projects that are coming in from Solana, as well as like helping create a place that these Cosmos users can come in and really understand what the Solana approach to scaling blockchain technology is. And that's where, as an infrastructure layer, that's where we come in and help create this this understanding of how the Solana virtual machine is highly beneficial, as well as like how the Cosmos has like created this really robust and long-lasting community. So we're really impressed by both of these approaches, and like we just want to act as this bridge. I would say not even like not a bridge of assets, but really this like bridge or meeting of the minds between the two ecosystems and communities.
Right. So, but talking about challenges, we have a lot right now, right? With Solana ecosystem, you picked a great time to launch. So we are like about 2 weeks after the FTX debacle. And you see the Solana ecosystem is having a lot of challenges right now, and some people are predicting the death of the entire chain. Want to hear your thoughts on that and what you're seeing.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly the elephant in the room is the FTX situation. And I certainly think that will set crypto adoption back because it destroyed trust in crypto. It destroyed like a lot of trust in like who we should believe in, right? But it definitely does also show the need for decentralized finance, particularly decentralized exchanges, which the Solana tech stack is like really well positioned in order to help build in the long run, right? Given that it's really optimized for high performant environments, right? So high TPS, low latency. So, you know, the tech team, like, I think, you know, I have a lot of faith that the tech and the team behind Solana will like be able to continue to innovate. And, you know, that this is like really where we see how a strong community matters. It's really a watershed moment. It's similar to when ETH had a similar kind of crash in its price and, you know, non-believers left. So I think that it's a moment where we're going to see a lot of bad actors and non-believers that were kind of in for like the speculative side of Solana leave. And you're left with like true supporters of the ecosystem. We've seen how a lot of these true believers have sticked around and have like really helped try to deal with a lot of the fallout from the FTX situation. And so, you know, we really see that like, you know, long term, I believe that Solana will survive and they will, you know, be able to come out of this on top. You know, we've seen that like, we've seen this with kind of the fact that like the Solana team already had a clear plan for continuing to innovate and to cater to building for these future builders that will be able to succeed through the innovations that they are working on with their core tech stack. And, you know, I think that I was really impressed with a lot of the innovations that they shared at Breakpoint as far as things like Fire Dancer, the Saga phone, and things like compressed transactions, which really helps benefit and helps bring on like new users onto the ecosystem long term. So, you know, while this is like certainly a risk, we really do believe that the Solana Foundation, and we really believe in the strength of the Solana Foundation, their long-term vision, and the fact that they will be able to get over this catastrophe. And it's largely just a rinse of a lot of the bad actors within the space. So obviously we're like, our success is critically tied to the success of Solana, and consequently long-term we're committed to supporting the ecosystem in any way that we can.
So, you know, what a very tangible impact would, you know, aside from the liquidity, you know, and people leaving the ecosystem and so on, I think in terms of for projects that are just starting, a very tangible impact is the funding, right? So FTX and Alameda, for better or worse, they were investing in a lot of the Solana ecosystem. So that part is gone, and also some other big investors that also, you know, got spilled over, impacted by FTX as well. Like they were also the big investors in the Solana ecosystem. So those guys are either dead or hurting badly. And so who are going to pick up the slack in terms of funding and investing in the ecosystem? That's a question that I have in mind. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think certainly it's certainly a huge challenge because these major players likely do not have the resources in order to support new projects. But that being said, I think that that there will be kind of new funds that come in and see this as an opportunity, or are like kind of funds that were previously less involved within the Solana ecosystem because of because of understanding and knowing that like they were not fans of maybe the approach that some of these funds were taking. So I think that they will have new capital that comes in. It also kind of raises an opportunity for, I would say, the public to get involved and for new ways of like crowdfunding to get like very popular for some of these projects. So I think like, you know, it's one of the situations where this is obviously a catastrophe short term, but in the medium and long term, it could really could really enable really new and interesting and innovative ways for fundraising in the space. So I think that we will see new funds that get involved to support strong builders. And then we will also see I would say, innovative ways for projects that are really indicating that they have an innovative or a really good idea to raise through non-conventional means as well. And this is something that is really prevalent in the Cosmos ecosystem as well. So there have been a significant amount of different approaches to fundraising, which makes kind of the opportunity at Nitro very interesting, right? Because we have this first Solana VM chain within the Cosmos, and we can kind of be a gateway to sharing what ideas worked for other app chains and other projects within the Cosmos ecosystem. So these are things like, public raises and like liquidity bootstrapping ideas as well, to where like this could be an entirely new way for Solana projects to raise. And I think through the kind of the fallout of the catastrophe, we're going to see different ways of making sure that we can support really strong builders.
So talking about fundraising, how are you doing the fundraising yourself, given the change in environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're currently in the midst of a raise, and we're really excited to kind of share who's involved. But I can't, unfortunately, disclose too much at this point. But we are certainly thinking about like how we should approach this within the context of being both a Cosmos and Solana based project.
Okay, so when did you start this Nitro? Is that beginning of this year or?
Yeah, so I started working full time on Nitro at the beginning of July.
Okay.
And we kind of came out publicly in September to kind of share what we were working on and share this opportunity of being the first Solana VM chain. So, now we're in full blown our full blown focus here now is kind of with community growth and building out awareness for what we're doing.
But you started with you had another company before, right? That online tennis, and that was for how long?
Oh yes, so I actually ran my tennis business for a year and a half. Yeah. Okay. Prior to that, and that was largely focused on being this social network for tennis players, addressing the challenges of being a professional player that hasn't made it to the main circuit. So tennis is an incredibly challenging sport to kind of play and be profitable in. You have to be top 100 in the world, or you're largely losing money. And the challenger and future circuit are incredibly tough to get through. So the goal was to be able to connect these really high-level tennis players with tennis players around the world that are looking for advice. They're looking for ways to improve their game, and they're looking for mentorship. So, the main challenge there is that you have a fragmentation of all these different social networks, as well as payment rails in order to support people that are part of the network. And that's really where I got attracted to crypto infrastructure and the rails in which to support people, either anonymously or just through a way of being able to incentivize them through tokens, right? So that was kind of one of the main reasons and main draws for why I got involved in the space.
So how did that platform go? Is it still running, or what's the status?
Yeah, so I transitioned out of the running the platform as I transitioned full-time into crypto. So currently the project is no longer running, but it's very interesting because a lot of the major players within the space a lot of the ideas that we were planning on implementing with the Academy.
Okay, so just as a final thought, can you share with us, obviously you've been an entrepreneur for a while, and you've been building in Web3 for a while. What are some of the major lessons or things that you learned that you think other entrepreneurs in the space should know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think really as a founder, the way I think about things now is your goal is to really continually find needles in the haystack. And what I mean by that is you're constantly looking for what you can do in order to 10x your own time and your own resources. Another really important aspect to creating your own project, running your own business, is really empowering your team. you want to make sure that you are very comfortable with the people that you've brought in, and that you give them autonomy and you give them the resources in order to succeed at what their core strength is. I think that is like highly important, especially within Web3, in kind of this remote working environment that we have, in order to succeed as a project. Finally, I think you really want to focus on the why. So like, why are you spending time within this aspect of the project? And like, why is this critically important to growing awareness or growing kind of the use cases for what you're doing? And finally, execution is really what matters at the end of the day. You want to make sure that you can translate that why into actual steps and can execute on what your vision is. I think that in the past, I've seen a lot of different businesses that kind of spend too much time reflecting on what they should do, rather than just pushing forward and executing on things. So I think those are kind of the three most important lessons that I've found just through my experiences in entrepreneurship.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Tascha. Really enjoyed being here.